Hey guys, I want to start this video off by saying that if I seem a little distracted, it's because I'm watching football, and I apologize to any Jaguars fans out there today because this is the one and only time that I don't root for the Jaguars. All right, with that said, I want to talk a little bit about Project One because I did get a bit of a flurry of questions, and I know that's due this week. So I just want to make sure that everybody feels okay, everybody feels comfortable, and knows what they're doing. So let's talk about this. For Project One, basically you need to have three artifacts, right? One has to directly involve UNF, and the other two have to also involve free speech zones at colleges and universities. You can find this information anywhere. It doesn't just have to be in the textbook, which means you can use the UNF library. You can do Google searches, because that's where you're going to find political cartoons, op-eds, newspaper articles, blogs, things like that. I would say the UNF library database is the first place you want to start, because researching from a scholarly point of view is ultimately better for our purposes here. But if you find something somewhere else that is legitimate and has the ethos that we're looking for, right? So has credibility to it, you are free to use that. And the goal here is to examine how the stance is presented. Okay, so you've done a couple of rhetorical analyses already on things that we've read from our textbook, and now it's time to flex those muscles in a different way. But they just sacked Blake Bortles. I'm sorry, guys. You flex those muscles in a different way and put it all together into a more cohesive sort of package, right? So in doing that, you're thinking about how the author of this particular piece puts out the information, word choice, like you just did self-style reviews for yourself. Think about word choice in this context as well, and determine how effective the piece is in saying what it's setting out to say. And the one thing that did cause a little bit of confusion for people was that you have to include the soul of the First Amendment in your discussion. Now, that is not one of your sources. The soul of the First Amendment helps make you a better author of something like this, because you've read that, you've got this information, and now you can use what you've learned from that to help you analyze the other artifacts. So hopefully that makes sense. And the assignment page itself basically breaks down how you're going to set this up. So first of all, I got a couple questions about length, guys. That's like right on the top of the assignment page. It's 1,000 to 1,500 words. But this then breaks down how you're going to set it up. So you're going to have an introduction where you're introducing your topic, introduce what sources that you have, and come up with a sort of itinerary statement, which is just a different way of saying a thesis statement, but it's basically laying out there what you're going to say about these articles. And then in part two, which is listed in the assignment as narration, you're defining anything important, concepts, a summary of your texts, and inform the audience what the text says. So you may have to describe what free speech zones are, when did they first happen, and stuff like that, basically just to make sure that whoever's reading this knows this stuff. So at that point, you're just setting up your essay, okay? The analysis comes later on in the essay. So consider the narration bit kind of an extended part of your introduction. And you can break this up however you want, meaning if you wanted to kind of have a brief narration to introduce each individual piece, each individual artifact before you get into it, that's a good idea. But you could also have one big narration section that covers everything before you get into part three, which is confirmation. I'm going to yell at my dogs for a second. Guys, you have to calm down. You have to calm down. Come here, lay down. All right, sorry. So at this point, you're going to confirm your thesis and analyze the text, which is basically what you've been doing before. Identify the rhetorical situation, identify rhetorical strategies that they use. So this would be our, logos, pathos, that kind of stuff. If there's any visual elements to the text, use those, talk about that. And then talk about how does the author use these, rhetorical modes to persuade the audience. You don't have to touch on all of them if you don't feel all of them apply. Use whatever you feel makes the most sense. Which appeal is the most effective and which rhetorical appeal is the least effective. Okay? So you're going to want to, for each one, say something that it does well and something that you think it doesn't do well. And then identify any illogical arguments. You're smart enough to figure out, when something doesn't make sense. So just talk about that. And then talk a little bit in part 4, opponents of your thesis. So people who might disagree with you. Provide logical reasons for, why they should agree with you. And then sum up your paper. So that is not saying the exact same thing over again. It's just revisiting it in a way that wraps things up. So it's just saying it in a different way, right? Word choice, just switch your word choice around, say it to wrap it up for people. Hopefully that makes sense. But this is all in the assignment page here. I'm just hoping that I've hit on all of the questions that I got from all you guys. So there's that. Switching gears now for a second, I want to talk a little bit about what we have coming up next. So next week, there's a discussion board about logical fallacies. There's a article in here that you're going to read and then, react to the discussion board prompt on that. And that's all that's live in Canvas right now. But this week, I will be loading up the rest of the semester so you'll know exactly everything else that you need to do before the semester is over. To give you an idea, just for planning purposes, there's one more rhetorical reading notes and rhetorical analysis. There's another self-style review. There's one more discussion board, and there's one more project. So that's not too bad. We're almost there. I think at this point, we have done more than we have yet to do. So good job, guys. With that, I'm going to get back to watching this football game. And from me and Troy, who is here, and Bella, who is right behind me, have a great week. If I got to stop the recording now. All right, bye, guys.